So you're considering becoming a priest or entering a religious order. That's awesome. As far as I'm concerned, there is no better life in the entire world. At the same time, there are some things that you should probably know before jumping in. At this point, you've probably seen us at our best. We give out pamphlets of happy people laughing. We show videos of holy people praying. We invite you to join us at the most exciting parts of our ministerial lives. And all of this is true. It's not fake, it's not a show, not a bait and switch just to get you to join. We are happy. We are holy people making a difference in the world. Sometimes. The reality is, as with any life, what we show publicly does not represent the whole story. There are many aspects of our life that don't fit nicely into a brochure, challenges that we don't like to talk about with discerners because we're afraid to scare them away. But I don't think that's wise. I want people to know what they're getting into and are prepared for the challenge, rather than people who show up and are scandalized when they arrive. And so, in the most unorthodox of vocation videos you'll probably ever see, here are 10 secrets, scandals, and challenges about religious life that your vocation director will not tell you. Number 1, not everyone is a saint, or even trying. No one is perfect or without sin, not even priests or religious, so the fact that we have good days and bad days shouldn't shock anyone. I don't think that anyone enters this life expecting to be surrounded by the holiest of people at all times. And yet, there is an expectation that when you join this life, that even though people sin, they would be at least trying their best not to, and that they were in religious life for the right reasons. Sadly, this is not always the case. One of the things you'll find in the first couple years of formation is that not everyone enters for the best of reasons. Some because they're trying to escape poverty, some because they're running from something in their past, some because they're afraid and don't know what else to do, and some actually have no idea why they're there. On the other side of things, you'll find men and women who have been living this life for 30 years, who have lost their vocation somewhere along the way, and are just going through the motions. They may show up to prayers and meals, they may go out and serve others, but in their hearts, there's no passion left. Sometimes you'll even find that people don't even come to prayer, don't engage with others, and push the boundaries of what they can get away with. This is sad, but it is also the reality of any communal living, religious or not. And if the happiness of your vocation is dependent on how well others live up to your standards, you are going to struggle. There is no perfect community. But as I'll mention with number 10, this may actually be religious life's biggest blessing. Number 2, you are in charge of your vocation and formation. As Franciscans, we like to remind ourselves that the primary formator of every friar is actually the Holy Spirit. While it is true that you will have superiors and teachers who are there to nurture your vocation, they cannot do the work for you. You can get the best advice in the world, but unless you're willing to follow it, nothing is going to change. And that's if the system around you is even well put together. Some formators and formation programs are fantastic, don't get me wrong, but others are a little more in flux or even chaotic. If you want to grow in holiness, look to your formators and do all they tell you, but don't expect a human being to have all the answers or a perfect path, because no human will ever know exactly what's in your heart or what you're dealing with. Ultimately, it is up to you to pray, to seek the answers, and to challenge yourself. No one is more responsible for your soul and your salvation than you. Take initiative and put the work in. Number 3. Celibacy won't fix anything on its own. As religious, we are required to remain unmarried and chaste, not seeking relationships and refraining from any sexual activity. I hope that one's not a surprise to you. We definitely put that one in the brochure. It's an obvious challenge for some, but for others, it is a gift, an opportunity to love more purely and to devote yourself to others, which is wonderful and the ideal of this life. But simply joining religious life will not guarantee that you will be chaste, nor will simply repressing your feelings make them go away. If you have unresolved sexual problems, may they be excess lust, same-sex attractions, or experiences of abuse, if all you do is take a vow of chastity, they are going to stay unresolved. Too often, people enter religious life believing that this will be a magical fix for their vice or trauma. Just focus on Jesus, follow the rules, all the pain will go away. Push down the feelings and everything will be fine. As we've seen way too many times, this is not the case. Unless you deal with your issues, heal your wounds, and work at growing in virtue, whatever you suppress is going to find its way out eventually, often in the most unhealthy of ways. We don't want that. Not for you, and not for the church. Number 4, community life can be lonely. A lot of people join community life because they are dissatisfied with how shallow their social lives are in the world and are seeking deeper intimacy with other like-minded individuals. That's great. At our best, this is exactly what we can offer. Unfortunately, though, the same advice from number 3 applies here. There are no magical fixes in community life. Simply joining a religious community will not guarantee intimacy. Sometimes the community is dysfunctional. We're human. It happens. Sometimes that community just isn't the right fit for you. Not everyone fits with every order. And sometimes there might be something that you need to work on. Believe it or not, if you struggle to make connections with people, develop intimacy, or even carry on a conversation in the world, being surrounded by other people in religious life is not going to make that magically go away. If you want to build real relationships, simply being in community is not enough. You have to work on your ability to socialize. Number 5, if you don't compromise, you won't survive. A common trait for people who become priests or enter religious life is a strong moral compass. Especially for Catholics, with all of our rules and rituals, we have a tendency to set a fairly high standard, which is great. But as I've indicated in each of the points so far, living with other people necessarily means facing less than ideal conditions. There are going to be people with different opinions at different stages of life with different needs. Add this to the fact that we are all sinners and not always rational, and I can guarantee you that you are going to face situations where you are going to be asked to do things you don't want to do. Little things like eat food that isn't your favorite or pray at certain times of day that aren't ideal for you, but also big things like different styles of worship, different spiritualities, or even different expectations for living together. There are definitely situations with clear right and wrong answers where you may want to fall on your sword, but that comes at a cost. If you always fight others or separate yourself from community in order to be right, eventually you're going to realize that you are not actually a part of a community at all. There must be a tension between being right and being together. Sometimes, if you want to have a community, you are going to have to learn how to swallow your pride and to do things that you don't want or fully agree with. That's life. Number 6, there is a major generational divide in most communities. Much like the rest of the world, the Catholic Church has swung back and forth over the past century, developing cracks and fissures in what was once a much more homogeneous culture. The issue is far more complicated than I'm able to explain in a few short paragraphs now, which is why I'll be devoting an entire video to this topic sometime soon, but I can speak in generalities. For men and women formed in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, there is a high emphasis placed on creativity, individual expression, personal freedom, and pastoral care. In some ways, they are reacting to a world before them that was overly strict and followed rules without a deep sense of spirituality or relationship. For men formed more recently, there is a much greater emphasis placed on orthodoxy, obedience, reverence, and tradition. In many ways, they are reacting to the explosion of individualism and confusion that arose in the world in the 1970s, which sacrificed the distinct aspects of our life to fit in with the culture. This is, of course, a major oversimplification, but you can see how both sides have good values and how these values can lead to misunderstandings or even conflicts. My hope for those entering religious life today is twofold: that they feel confident enough to stand up to previous generations where necessary, asserting the values that will lead to much-needed reforms in the church, while at the same time sympathizing with the challenges they faced, accepting the faith they had and still have, and even praising the goodness they sought to accomplish to keep the faith alive in their time, even if it wasn't always successful. There is a reason that older generations value what they do and benefits to be gained from listening to their wisdom and experience. Recognize that you probably don't want to imitate everything you see, but you don't want to ignore it either. Number 7, you will have a crisis of faith at some point. Probably the worst one on this list, but also the most important to talk about because I've seen it in so many and I felt it in myself. The reality is that there is a big difference between being a layperson and being a priest. Not better or worse, just a different life when you're an insider. It's the sort of seeing how the sausage is made sort of dilemma. Before you went back into the kitchen, you could enjoy your meal for its flavor and presentation. Now that you've seen its ingredients, you've seen the process, it's just a different experience. Sometimes this means realizing that your heroes aren't as heroic as you first thought. You see father preaching in the pulpit, sister serving the poor down the street, and you look to them as untouchable. And then you share a house with them, and you see that their life is a bit of a mess, that they have anger issues, can be selfish at times, and are generally a lot less angelic and more human than your previous image of them. Sometimes it's with the church itself. As a divine institution, you may have fallen in love with its sanctity, how it is a driving force for good in society, providing the Eucharist and feeding the poor throughout the ages. And then you attend a parish staff meeting. You encounter church politics. You realize that after celebrating multiple masses a day for a couple years, that the mystery wears off a bit, and a sense of tediousness creeps in for what you have to do. That will mess with you. The reality is that being a part of the church is as much an experience of humanity as it is of God. God may be our head, he may be guiding everything we do, but the human experience fills our day-to-day tasks. At first, this can leave us in crisis, realizing that not everything is as clean and ordered as we thought. But as time goes on, a new faith can take its place, one that is actually stronger than before, because it's able to see God not only in the perfect and ordered, but in the mess as well. Number 8, much of this life is ordinary and mundane. When most people say that they want to be a priest, it's because they want to help people on the road to conversion, to celebrate the Mass, to watch parishioners grow up in faith, and to see the church flourish. No one ever says they want to be a priest because they love capital campaigns or responding to emails. While the best parts of our lives are absolutely sublime, they are not the only things we do. There are a lot of ordinary, mundane tasks that we have to take care of to make it all work. Not everything we do is the life-changing work of saving souls. What I like to tell discerners is that it's great to love what we do at our best, but if this is going to work out, you are going to have to find at least some enjoyment in what we do at our most mundane. You don't have to love emails or staff meetings or fundraisers, but you must find at least some enjoyment in it to find it to be at least worthwhile. This is not unique to religious life, it is the case with every profession. Surgeons spend more of their time out of surgery than in it. Police officers do a lot of paperwork. Teachers spend as much time in preparation and in grading as they do with their actual students. As you discern, my hope is simply that you would consider the non-glamorous side of what we do and see if that's something that you could learn to love. Number 9. You are not going to feel like you're making a difference for years. Again, people join this life because they want to make the world a better place. They become priests and religious because they want to teach the faith, comfort the sick, feed the poor. Basically, to become more like Jesus in life and ministry. The problem is that we're not ready to live the life and ministry of Jesus immediately when we enter. Prayer is difficult at first and takes a lot of practice. Teaching can't be done unless we learn something first. The people of God don't just need people in authority, they need well-formed leaders, which requires a lot of work on ourselves before we can help others. Even St. Paul left the world for a few years after his conversion before he started preaching. Becoming a priest or religious necessarily means taking some time to develop before we're ready to be real ministers. We need school, personal prayer, development, experiences, challenges, all of it coming before we are sent out to do anything. For the friars, at least, almost no ministry at all is done in the first 2 years. Even after that, our main focus is on school, not helping other people. For those training to be priests, it's at least 5 or 6 years before you're able to preach at Mass, hear confessions, or provide any meaningful pastoral care. That's a long time to wait, and it's easy to grow impatient. You'll spend the first few years of this life doing things that are unlike the rest of your life, but they are necessary. You cannot give what you don't first possess, and so you must be patient, and we must be thankful for this opportunity to grow. And finally, number 10, the challenges are the best parts. I understand that this has not exactly been the most inspiring list. If you weren't considering religious life before, this video certainly did nothing to make it more appealing, and for those who were considering it, it might have even dampened your enthusiasm a bit. Which, on the one hand, good. This life is not for everyone. It's for the strongest and the most committed only. We don't need people becoming priests or religious simply because they couldn't think of anything better to do or because they're hiding from the world. We're the Marines, the elite forces of the church, not somebody's safety school. On the other hand, though, I don't want people to leave this video thinking that this life is just something to be endured, that it's all difficult. Sure, there are a lot of challenges. It's not always perfect or ideal, but that's actually what makes it so wonderful. The best part of religious life for me is that the people around me, the things I'm asked to do, challenges me to live more deeply, and it makes me a better Christian and human. In the world, I could be friends with whomever I wanted and ignore whomever I wanted. I surrounded myself with only those who brought me happiness. As a result, unfortunately, it meant I surrounded myself with people who brought me comfort, not holiness. People who were like me and liked me, rather than people who helped me see the world in a different way. This is not what the kingdom of God looks like. This is not the life of the church. It is certainly not how Christians are called to be in the world. Living with people who are different from me, who see the world in ways that I certainly do not, forces me to realize that I am not perfect or complete, and that God works in many and varied ways. Community life reveals to me not so much the sins of the world, but my own sins and limitations, reminding me how much more work I have to do. How can we expect to be a person who loves everyone, lives humbly, shows mercy and patience, and endures heartache if we only surround ourselves with people we like, who never challenge us or cause us strife? For me, the greatest parts of this life, the times I feel myself growing in holiness and closest to God, is when I learn to love someone whom I did not like, when I reconcile with a brother who hurt me or whom I hurt, when I am thankfully forced to compromise because I didn't even realize I was actually wrong in my convictions until I had to listen to another's opinion. It is actually the brothers who annoy me the most that make me the holiest, the ones who challenge me that make me better, the ones who surprise me with their hidden grace that remind me that I still have a lot more work to do and that God is up to amazing things. Religious life is not easy, and it's almost never what I want it to be, but I wouldn't want it any other way. If you are looking for a challenge, a desire to be holy, and want to give your life to God, maybe this is the life for you.